Good morning and welcome to A Closer Look. I'm your host, Linda Fontaine. Today, my guests are Tucker Shull and Jeffery Upshaw. They are the brains behind the podcast, The Daily Brain Bleed with Tucker and Jeff. Welcome, guys. Thank you for coming to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome. So first of all, I got to know, how did this come about?
Well, it's interesting. We were sitting around here at home in Northeast Tennessee. We had the COVID crisis going on, and it really puts a lot of people's lives on hold. I'm having to defer grad school at Vanderbilt. Jeff's teaching, obviously, but we really wanted a creative outlet during this time to kind of, help us harness our energies. I say energies, it makes me sound like a woo-woo guy. I'm thinking more just, I have some creative energy. I want to expend it on something. And so we were looking at the resources that we had available to us, and we thought, you know what, Jeff's really good at technical such stuff, and we're both good with public speaking. Why don't we give doing a podcast a try? And we kind of honed what sort of topics we were knowledgeable about, and well, we like popular culture, so it organically evolved into something where we were talking a lot about pop culture.
Yeah, we went through a couple of topics before we finally settled into movies and pop culture, and that's kind of just what felt the most natural for us to talk about.
Well, I've known you guys for a long time because you're friends with my sons. So I know you guys are very intellectual guys, very smart, creative guys. You're involved in a lot of stuff back in the day in school and all that. So I know that these will be very creative podcasts. And in fact, I've listened to a few and they're very interesting. So are you guys having fun doing all this?
Oh yeah, it's absolutely a treat. Like I look forward to we both pick like a series of movies or TV shows that we want to watch and talk about, and I look forward to getting together on Saturday and just kind of, we don't really make a policy of discussing the stuff that we're watching before we get to the podcast. And so it's fun to just kind of see, oh, well, how did that strike you? Oh, well, I didn't like it. Oh, why didn't you like it? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it makes it more natural, more spontaneous. I like that. Now, tell me, has it been 7 podcasts so far?
Yes, I believe it's been 7. I think the 8th just came up the other day. And what's really interesting with this is it isn't always just us on the show. We're starting to invite more guests on. We recently had Chris McElroy, who's another fellow who grew up with Jeff and I back in high school, a few years older than us. But he's now out in Hollywood. He's working in the entertainment industry. So it was really interesting to get that sort of inside look into things. And through him, we were able to, talk with some other people. And so we should have episodes coming up soon that it allows us to kind of meld our own amateur kind of thoughts on the film industry or any other given topic with people who do have some insider experience. And I think that's something that is very interesting. You get those different perspectives there.
Now, I notice you guys have your podcasts are usually less than an hour long. So why did you pick that time frame, around 45 minutes?
Realistically, it's because I think if you listen to us talk for more than an hour, it would become detrimental. Honestly, we liked the idea of slightly shorter form content because my envisioning for this anyways is we release on Wednesdays. So that means, you're halfway through the week, you're on hump day, and you have a podcast to listen to on your commute or on your lunch break or whatever. And it's not like a slog. You get our opinions on some stuff, you get a couple jokes, and we're in, we're out, we're done, right?
I love that. So why would I want to listen to it? What will I gain from it? Is it just your perspective? Are you giving me, are you selling me on a certain movie or certain show? Or is it just every show's different, completely different? How does that work?
To be clear, some of the shows that we watch, some of the movies we watch, we would absolutely not want to sell you or anyone else on.
Okay, gotcha.
We're giving our honest opinion on things. I think what makes us unique, and everyone can only be unique to some degree, but what makes us unique is that oftentimes the podcast game is really dominated by guys who are living in Brooklyn or guys who are living on the West Coast who have a certain sort of attitude informed by their living in this coastal area or an urban area, which is absolutely fine. I love hearing that perspective, but we were talking about this beforehand, and what's interesting is when you're growing up in a small town like we do, you don't have a lot to do in the same way that people in, say, New York City or wherever would have a lot to do. And so much of your outlook on life is formed by pop culture, by the movies you see, by the music that you listen to. And we are kind of giving that perspective, the perspective on really growing up on this pop culture, and it kind of informs how we look at it going into increasingly our adulthood. So I think that's one way that I think we have a unique perspective.
The other reason I think people might want to listen to us is, first of all, because I hope at least it's an entertaining, 45 minutes of basically talk radio for modern audiences. We joke around a little bit. We talk about stuff that's happening on the internet and just in general. And so if you're not the type of person that's super plugged into that stuff all the time, it can be a good way to just kind of like catch up on like, oh yeah, what was happening at that point,
Mm-hmm. I like that. That's very good. So every episode is just totally different. And like I said, I know you guys to be creative guys and interesting guys. So these have got to be pretty interesting episodes. So do you have a favorite so far? Or is there something that maybe you're thinking about expanding into?
I don't know if we want to reveal all our cards too soon. I did really enjoy the episode where we tried the Lady Gaga Oreos on air. I'm not sure if on air is the right terminology for what we're doing, but obviously that's a bit of a visual gag, but I think we were able to convey the experience of trying these new sorts of Oreos very well on our medium, and it was just really fun, yeah.
I don't have a favorite whole episode. I have favorite bits. So like these little individual kind of segments that we do. I really enjoyed at the beginning of last week's episode, we were talking about Pirates of the Caribbean, and so I did a pirate voice, which sounds just kind of stupid and kitschy, but it's like, it was fun for us, and I've gotten some good feedback on that bit and some other ones, so.
Yeah, I did hear that. I thought that was fun. That was cute. It's nice. I think probably the more you do it, the more relaxed you're getting with it too. You're at the beginnings of it, and it takes a little time to just really get into, your vibe. But you guys have seemed to just start off really, feet on the ground running with this stuff. So you guys seem to be doing very well with it. Now, how can people listen to you? How are you available?
We distribute through most of your major podcast distributors. So we do Spotify, Apple Music. I think we're on Amazon Podcasts now. Most people listen to us on either Spotify or Apple Podcast app. So if you search Daily Brain Bleed on either of those applications, we'll show up.
Now, where did you come up with that name, Daily Brain Bleed? I was telling you guys before we started, that's a name you don't easily forget. It's very catchy. It's a little, kind of gory, but that's part of the excitement of it. So where'd you guys come up with that?
Well, to be honest, the one thing about it is technically false advertising. We say Daily Brain Bleed. We don't have a new episode up every day. We just liked how it sounded. It's funny, at the very beginning of this process, we were literally brainstorming names that we thought were catchy and we thought weren't too pretentious, like, oh, the movie nerds or something like that. One of the ideas that we had for a long time was the intellectually gifted nematodes, but we thought that was a little bit too much. We thought that was a little bit, so we kind of reeled it in. We kind of reeled it in, and Daily Brain Bleed, it's just the sensation of, it's an intellectual experience, but there's something askew about it.
The way that I see it, we spend the whole week gathering information and media and stuff like that, and then at the end of the week, we bleed it all out and record it. And that's my perception of it anyways.
Very good. See, now we have these visuals and where you're coming up with this stuff. I love this. So what can we look forward to? Is there anything we can be looking forward to coming up? We just have a few minutes left, but what is it you guys want to tell us about your podcast? Add any last pearls of wisdom about it, so to speak.
We're excited to be having some more interviews coming up with all sorts of different people from all sorts of different walks of life. We do want to get more perspective from people, like we have a couple interviews lined up with more Hollywood insider type people, but we also have like some friends in the area that we're wanting to talk to and continue getting the small town perspective. And we're also just looking forward to, as we get a larger back catalog of episodes, kind of getting to interact with our audience a little bit through like our Twitter and our Gmail that we're starting up, so we can, interact a little bit more and have it be more of a community of listeners, if that makes sense.
Once all of this is over, and hopefully it's sooner rather than later, the COVID madness.
Yes.
We'd love to do a live show. We'd love to do a live show in some format, and that's hopefully what we're positioning ourselves for once we return to some sort of normalcy.
I love that. So again, you are called The Daily Brain Bleed with Tucker and Jeff, and we can find you on, again, what'd you say, Audible and Amazon? Give me the names of these things again that you're available on.
So we're hosted on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and I believe we're on Amazon now as well.
Okay. Yes, you are, because I saw you. That's how I heard you on Audible on Amazon.
Oh.
That's what I was listening to. Yeah. So you are available on that. I can tell you that right now. That's the first thing that popped up actually when I Googled you. So that's pretty cool. Jeff, Tucker, thank you so much for being on the show today. This was fun, and I can't wait to hear more of your podcast and see where you guys go with this. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
And we'll be back with another show of A Closer Look